Hello, everyone. I'm highlighting Brandi Sellers, Clinical Hospice Liaison with Amedisys, and I'm excited to have her join me today. We've worked together for many years long ago, and we've stayed in contact over the years, and she has just a great background in all things healthcare. So as part of Eldercare's Senior Support Series, we enjoy highlighting businesses in the area that complement the services that we provide, and hospice is definitely one of those services. So welcome, Brandi.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks for joining me today. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, like you said, I have been in healthcare my entire adult career. I started at a private practice here in Wilmington and went and received my nursing diploma and worked in home health, like you said, with you. I've been in a facility, private practices, and now in hospice. And I feel like I've really had a full circle in the healthcare world, and I am absolutely loving it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you have a why, like why you do it. And you shared with me, just a special story about your, I think it was your grandparent that you guys were
So,
caring for.
with Amedisys, we really focus on what drives us to do what we do and focus on your why. And my why has always been my grandmother, who was a huge part of my life. She was a cancer survivor and fighter for many years. And towards the end, we had to make some decisions and have some really hard conversations. And now looking back, that was obviously before my healthcare career. I have always said if someone would have given me the information and the resources that I know now, we could have made different plans. We could have had things in differently. And I do not want other families to feel that way. So I really focus my why on making sure other families have the information and the resources that they need to make plans as they see fit.
That's so good, Brandi. Yes, thanks for sharing that story. One of the things I took away from one of our conversations recently was no one said you have options. And with hospice, we kind of have a one-track mind that we just don't realize that there's so many resources behind hospice. So tell us about, when you think about, if somebody is needing that hospice care support, and there's so many branches to what you guys do, so many care options. Tell us a little bit about that.
So there's a stigma or a view of hospice as setting an end date, like an expiration date.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
I had my personal experience. I had that feeling towards hospice, but being able to understand it more, there's so many options in it. It's just a care plan. It's your path. It's what you're choosing. It's just like saying, you want to take Tylenol over ibuprofen. It's your choices.
Yeah.
Hospice has different approaches, different resources that we make available to patients. So we have our nursing staff, our aide staff, our people, if you will. We also help facilitate medical equipment,
Oh, yeah.
beds, modes, walkers, bedside tables, anything to make your quality of life better, easier, more enjoyable. Medications are available, and then resources such as linking with private duty care, community partners, Meals on Wheels, anything that makes your life a better quality and simpler and enjoyable for however long that may be.
Wonderful, Brandi. And you had mentioned too, there's spiritual leaders, and then even like, let's say, your loved one passes and there's caregivers in the home that you offer continued support. Maybe elaborate a little bit on that too.
So we do have a chaplain for all of our patients in need. That chaplain helps connect the patient to whatever denomination of their choices. It's not a one-track thing. We really look for community partners in all areas. And then the bereavement coordinator follows the patient's family 13 months even after the passing. They make contact on certain anniversaries or important dates that the family might have discussed, and just really make sure that they have the support they need to carry on, whether that's emotional support or continuing to look for resources that you didn't know you needed. Veterans are a huge part of our program in veteran care.
Yes.
And we have found that not all veterans and their families are receiving the benefits that they're entitled to. So our bereavement coordinators, our chaplains, our social workers, are looking for resources and benefits for that veteran population to make sure everyone receives what they're entitled and what they should have.
Yes. And, you know, I've always said people don't even know what to ask. And so I know, and you're such a resource, you know, just knowing all things in healthcare and being able to tap into different resources. So I'm so glad to know you over the years and for you to, you know, have that information tucked away. One thing had been thinking, and I think about it a lot. My mom took care of her husband until, you know, the end. And here I am in healthcare all these years and not really understanding when is the right time to reach out to hospice. And I wish that we had got hospice in there for my mom and my younger sister at the time when they were going through that. So thinking about that, you know, you opened the conversation, you know, with that same concept is we don't, you know, reach out soon enough. So what would be the takeaway on this for families or, you know, or other healthcare entities to think about when should we call hospice in?
So in my experience with this, and even as a healthcare provider myself, as a nurse, we get one-track mind on the care and what we're doing for that specific need instead of kind of opening up the full picture. So what I have found working in this field and being involved in hospice is there's never a soon enough time to start discussing last wishes, what your care plan wants to be. I'm a healthy 34-year-old female, and I have this conversation with my husband now. You know, if God forbid something happens, if I have a stroke, what are my plans?
Yes.
So you can never start talking about it soon enough.
That's so true.
And involve your healthcare team, not just your family, but if you have a regular healthcare team, a private duty care member, a primary care, a specialist, let them know what your wishes are and be honest with what the timeline looks like and what you want that timeline to look like. Hospice is not something that gives you a date. We just make sure that your time is absolutely beneficial and successful when the time comes. So you can never start asking questions too soon.
So good. And also too, you know, I've heard stories where people have come off of hospice.
Right.
And gone and maybe needed home health and you'll connect them with a home health agency in the area.
So we definitely have patients who that one-on-one care that we've provided and the education and the nursing and the aides and all of that put together, finding all the resources that make that patient thrive in their living setting. They have become where they've actually gotten better, or they've strengthened, or they've been able to have a better hold on what their disease process is. So that makes them quote unquote not hospice eligible under the Medicare guidelines.
Gotcha.
So when that happens, we start reaching out and planning a different care plan. If that involves home health for therapy services, if that involves, you know, private duty in the home on a regular basis, we start making those pieces put together and get all that, you know, lined up for the patient to build a successful care plan in a different setting, in a different lifestyle. You know, you're changing your track. So we put all these pieces together and try to make that patient's new care plan a successful one.
Oh, it's excellent, Brandi. Thank you for sharing that. Now, there are just beautiful stories. We hear them all the time in healthcare, home care. Makes you feel so good. And really it's our why too, you know, just the feeling of giving back to people and that connection. And you have, I know you have maybe a great story that you could share, some highlights of someone that you helped in their final wishes or stages of life here.
So two that have actually just happened in our care center within the last week or two. One, like I was saying, we're very involved with our veterans. We have a We Honor Veterans program that we are active in. And all of our patients that are veterans or spouses of veterans, we pin, and we have military volunteers in the community that are involved in that.
I love that.
So we had a patient who was not doing well, had a pretty significant decline, and he was retired military. And we were able to come to his home and perform a pinning ceremony.
Oh, So
it
special.
had gotten to the point where he was not very interactive. He wasn't responding to cues or being, he didn't communicate. He was, you know, in a sleeping state. But when the volunteer veteran did his speech, thanked our patient for his service, pinned him, and then saluted, our
Oh,
patient opened his eyes and brought his arm up to salute him, to salute back.
ooh,
And
okay, you're going to choke me up here on today. Woo, that's a big one.
so the wife was able to see a glimpse of that spark and what meant so much to her husband come back. And we were able to have what I feel like is probably one of the last experiences and memories that that patient left with, was a positive one, of his military background and knowing that he was appreciated and that it was worth something. Um,
Absolutely. That is so beautiful.
so, and then another one that just grabs me is we had a patient who, they just were not informed of a timeline. They didn't recognize where they were in the process. And we came in and we only had a few days with this patient, but the husband had expressed that she was, in her regular unsick life, very active in her church. And
Oh,
she had not been able to have communion within like
oh,
months. She was
yeah.
not able to participate in church services. So we were able to coordinate with her church and do Holy Communion in her
Oh,
home.
so beautiful.
And she had that within 24 hours of her passing. Her and her husband were able to participate in communion together. And that's something that her husband, holds on to as a memory, is, you know, their last experience, a religious experience that they got to do together.
That is so moving to me. I love stories like that. And again, it just comes back to makes us feel good when we can carry something out for families
Right.
and their loved ones. So thank you, Brandi, for sharing that. You just have a just a wonderful side to you. I just enjoy talking to you every time, and I love that you're a resource and you know all things healthcare. You've worked in so many different arenas, so you're like the guru. Okay.
Well, I try. If
Yes.
not, I'll try to get you somewhere that does know.
Yes,
Put you right
that's
around.
right. We'll link. I always say I will link you to someone that can help. So just hang tight. Yeah. So Brandi, thank you so much for joining me today. And how can people reach you? You know, if they're looking for, you know, just questions about hospice and the umbrella of services, how can they reach you?
So Amedisys is a local company. We are based in Brunswick County. We cover Brunswick, New Hanover, Pender, Columbus, Onslow, our eastern North Carolina borders.
Wonderful.
You can actually reach me directly, so you're not going through the phone systems that I know are so frustrating. 907123869. And like you said, Jen, if I don't have an answer for you, I will definitely link you to where you need to be.
Thank you, Brandi. So great to talk to you and see you today. This is Brandi Sellers with Amedisys. And if you need anything at all, you guys feel free to reach out to her. Thanks for joining me today, Brandi. We'll see you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.